Welcome back, everybody. This is, of course, M-Dog, and we are doing a little fishing in Akhtuba. Going to make a couple videos tonight. My hope is to make a couple videos. First here at Akhtuba, and then secondly probably at Amber. And what we're going to try to do is look at the development of some spots here. These are two spots. First here on Akhtuba at 51,138. This one especially has just been solid now for almost a week, I believe. And it's been so good, the wild carp and the big-headed carp. And then now towards the end of the week or beginning of a new week, I think it's still pretty strong. I'm also seeing or hearing talk that people are occasionally catching sterlet and even sturgeon now in this spot, which occasionally will happen here, but it's been so dominated by wild carp and bighead. It's interesting to see the development of a spot sort of as you move forward over the course of a week. First fish is a wild carp. So let's take a look at this this rig. This is probably the setup that has been the highest bite rate. So we've got large one hook and we've got double pellets, right? So obviously we're using classic hair rig, and we've got the krill 18 and halibut pellets. Notice the pellet size, and of course spicy halibut dip. I will go ahead and show you here the PVA, sunflower seed, halibut feed pellet, halibut mini feed pellet, extra halibut feed pellet, biscuit, and halibut oil. You'll see some variety in PVAs for this spot, but that's a pretty common one. And I am trying currently, this rod is at 19 clip. What I've done is I've gone 17 clip, 18 clip, and then 19 clip. 17 is the clip that I use most often, but now that I'm stacking the rods sort of to the side here, and the idea behind that is if we can have any influence over the fish's direction, we do want them to go southeast here. We don't want them going out in the open channel, because if it's a large enough wild carp or big head, we could get in trouble, obviously, with them going out in the channel. So we're trying to avoid that scenario. And let's go ahead and take a look at these, at the bait sets on this rig. And you can tell already, you know, wild carp tend to be more active at night. And so you're more likely to see the big heads during the day, but you'll see the wild carps at night a lot, and occasionally wild carps during the day. This rig, the difference is we've got a really big hook, 2.0 hook. And you see the much larger pellets with krill 18 sinking boilie. So also classic hair rig. But instead of the double pellets on this one, we're actually running a sinking boilie. And again, I'm just trying to try things. One thing you want to notice about the PVA bag, it seems to make a little bit of a difference in my testing. I am using the 20-gram bag, which uses 2 portions instead of the normal 10-gram bag that you would use in most carp situations, which only uses 1 portion. So we're using double the PVA per cast here. And if you want to see the highest number of fish, I think having all 3 of your rods with this third setup, again, this is the smaller 18 double pellet, I think that's the way to go. But I wanted to test a couple other sort of bait setup. So on this middle rod, which we haven't had a bite yet and I just put them in right before I started recording, so I didn't fish any. I mean, I fished this spot off and on a couple times throughout the week. So, but this one has the larger pellets, the 25 size, and I might even say it slowed it down so much. I might even say that it might be worth considering doing 118 and 125, or again, going back to both of them being 18. But that's the setup we have on that one. And, you know, of course, there's been a lot of wild carp trophies, big head trophies, and now we're starting to see some decent sterlet and even the occasional sturgeon come in, again, on these same baits. So just beware that if that is the case, which it hasn't happened to me yet, but I haven't spent near as much time fishing here as some other folks have, and I am hearing that that's occasionally starting to happen to other folks. So just kind of be aware that yeah, it might be a huge wild carp or a huge big head, but it's also a possibility that it could be a really nice sterlet or even a sturgeon, which for players that don't have like the strongest of gear, when if the sturgeon really do start showing up here, then that, you know, that can kind of change things for you, obviously. But and we'll give this middle rod a little bit more time, but I think we might want to switch it either back to the smaller boilie pellet size, or like I said, sort of combo out. That's a nice fish, I think. This is like the perfect size. I don't have to fight it. It's going to come right in, but it's, you know, pretty chunky. I think if it was any larger than this, it'd probably run a little bit on us, which that's okay. I mean, sometimes it's fun to get the big trophies, but in terms of efficiency, it's also nice sometimes to be able to just get the fish in, get on to the next fish, but still have a decent size. I mean, 35,000 experience. We've got some nice happy hour bonus going right now. And so sometimes you just want to get those fish in. And when we get this third rod, if we get that fish in, if there's still not even a nibble on the middle rod, we'll go ahead and switch that out. I will tell you, I've used these three setups a good bit here yesterday, and you will get bite, or I have been getting bites on this middle rod setup as well, but I've noticed more and more it seems to be slowing down. So the reason why I switched to that is because with the more of the small pellets you have in, you will occasionally catch non-marker size wild carp. And so if that happens a lot, then, and maybe that's less likely to happen at night since wild carp are so active, but if that happens a lot, then it does start to feel like, okay, the PVA cost of doing these 20-gram bags is starting to add up. But if you actually look at the cost of this PVA mix, it's, or most any PVA mix, unless you've got tons of expensive boilies or some of the more expensive ingredients, it's really not, you know, it's not cutting into your profit that much. There's this idea that like, okay, you know, carp fishing's great, but remember you're buying all those expensive baits and PVA bags and stuff. With the silver that you make in most good carp spots, that's a nice one. I personally, I don't feel like the cost of PVA or boilies should discourage you. It's great XP, great silver. And last night on stream, I actually fished for sturgeon and made a lot of silver and decent XP on sturgeon as well. But, you know, you hook into a big sturgeon, even with pretty nice gear, I mean, you're talking about a pretty lengthy fight. The amount of damage to your gear comes into play in a different kind of way. So I think there's a lot of upsides to a really good carp spot, especially at amber or bear. Dealing with the current here and with how viciously these big wild carp, and especially the oversized big heads, will fight you. So there's a non-marker. There's an example of a non-marker. All right, so let's see. I have 89 of the krill 18 and 96 of the halibut. So we'll leave the halibut pellets. Let's go ahead and grab this real quick before another fish gets on. I mean, you've seen how long we've been sitting here, and Alright, so we'll go halibut smaller. Halibut 18, but we'll keep the big krill. And yeah, just while we're sitting here recording for a little while, we'll see what, if anything, that does. Now, I think there is a fish on the first line, but I don't know for sure. Every once in a while you'll have a fish, especially when you have really large hooks on there, like we've got those 2-0s. You'll have a fish that'll kind of pick up the bait, move it, seem to be getting pretty excited, and then sort of just drop it and move on. Looks like that might be what happened here. All right, it's another nice one. Another nice wild carp, I bet. And I'm going to try to keep the video going long enough during the day. Maybe we can see a big head or two. I do feel like comparing to maybe 4 or 5 days ago, maybe the big heads aren't quite as active right now as they were. But we'll see. We'll see what the morning brings. This is also a spot that I feel like you want to rotate off. It's another really nice one. I mean, I'm fine with catching like 15-kilo wild carp, just one after another. Jersey just had a really nice crucian carp in chat. We may not go too far into the day in terms of the video, only because, I mean, we'll see what the bite rate feels like, but it's certainly, you can have some really slow, I feel like some slow moments once you get to afternoon especially. But we'll see what the morning feels like. I really feel like we need to go experience the spot on mosquito. It apparently has just been great lately. It's just been hard for me to get over there. I haven't had as much time lately, and been having such a blast with the content at especially Amber and Tuba, but Tunguska a little bit as well. I actually want to try, and I guess that's another video I could make tonight. I think people have been doing pretty well with, and I'll have to look and see if I can find a little bit of info, but like silver carp and stuff like that here at the Tuba Pond. And maybe even on match. I mean, I could do a combination of match and feeder. Okay, now look at this, guys. This is what we're talking about. Look at that. Oh, that's so nice. 81,000 XP, 6 kilo sterlet. I'm telling you, if those move in, especially if they move in without too much interference from sturgeon, this spot might just keep going. This spot might just keep going. I love catching sterlet, especially if you have minimal risk of like blowing yourself up with a big sturgeon. So still, you know, we have 0 fish caught on that middle rod. It's even being outpaced by the 2-0 hooks with the sinking boilie pellets combo. So that's a change. I mean, it could just be random, but that was not the case yesterday for me. And we even lowered one of the pellet sizes, so we may need to push that one to both of them being smaller pellets, or go to a sinking boilie combo on that as well. And I think either one could be fine. Let's see if the weekly, if it's showing me weeklies right now. There's been some times lately where I haven't been able to see weeklies, just kind of spins and spins. On the records list, but we'll check and see if we can see it. I'm just curious, like, my guess is that sterlets are coming in on the double pellets, but what you have to remember is that so many people are using double pellets right now. Like, that's just the bait that's in the water. Other than at the sturgeon spot, but way more people have been fishing in this wild carp, big head carp. I can almost guarantee you the numbers would be astronomical. This spot has been so good for so many days now. The word of mouth spreads, and you know, just more and more people come here. So I feel like anything on the weeklies that is biting on this bait, it's going to be disproportionate in favor of this bait, if that makes sense. It's kind of like when a lure is hot and then everyone starts using that lure, all of a sudden it shows up on like everything's weekly list. Not necessarily because it's the best, but because that is what that's what's in the water. That's what's on the lines in the water. Okay, so 25, 24 crawfish pellets. Now that's so fascinating. Doesn't it just make you want to throw crawfish pellets in and see if like it would target mostly sterlet? Halibut freshwater, 18, 18, 18, 14. Look at that. Someone's really trying to like increase bite rate even more. Now I haven't tested going to that small a pellet. Another thing you could try if you want to try to embrace the sterlets is throwing night crawlers in. I know sterlets recently have been doing pretty well on night crawlers. We've got 3 fish species, and those are the 3 we really want for this spot right now. I'm pretty sure I don't have any crawfish pellets right now, but I'll make sure of that. Yeah, that middle line is just silent. Still nothing. That's interesting that you can like double up the... Now I do have 14. So we'll try that 14 and 18. We'll go in the opposite direction. I just want to see us catch a fish on this rod to make sure that it's just not like something going on there with the setup. But I don't think I've changed anything, and we were catching fish on it yesterday in this same spot. So it's daytime, big heads are starting to come in a little bit. Quick bite on that same rod. There's a non-marker wild carp for you. It's always my fear when we've got the smaller pellets on during the day. We're just going to get blasted with these guys. Looks like we're finally catching a fish on that middle rod, so let's see what we've got. Yeah, it's not what we want. Unless you're after fish pieces. It's a pretty expensive way to get fish pieces, actually. And this happened yesterday when I was here during the day. It's actually what led me to switching the baits and hook sizes up a little bit. So we'll give it a little bit of time. I think when you hit the big heads during the day, you're probably okay. But when you hit the wild carp during the day, the chances of getting those non-markers are pretty significant with the smaller pellets. I haven't seen a lot of non-marker big heads though. At least that I remember. "24 minutes, 12 keeper fish." Again, could be a little slower in the afternoon, but especially if you get a little lucky and occasionally hit the trophy or, you know, a really nice one, the silver per hour typically in this spot's really nice, or has been. That'll be a marker. Especially during the day here, I'm also tempted to kind of back off the real large hook. Yeah, we'll see. All right, it's our second look at this middle rod and these smaller, or maybe our third look at these smaller pellets. It's not bad. Should be a marker. And then in the late afternoon, early evening, this spot usually picks up again and ends up being really nice. But I think in terms of the match rods, at this point, I probably only have one that I would be comfortable going for carp. Even though it's in the pond, technically you could sort of wear it out, but that is just 16 is a little light. But yeah, we could use the this bad boy here, and so I'll do some searching, because before we leave Tuba, I might try to put together a second video if we can get that spot working. with the silver carp. I don't know how active it is. I just have heard rumblings of people talking, and I know that at least one thing I saw was someone trying to hit them with the float fishing on the match rod. So we'll try to check it out. Curious what this will be. Yeah, I figured. And with these smaller size PVA bags, I mean, larger size PVA bags. We're 10 fish at this point away from going through a whole batch. Now that is a small fish. Alright, so now this setup is just like the third one. So we've got second and third setup identical to the third one, which is honestly the setup that I kind of used in the majority of the time I spent here, at least yesterday. Trying to be patient on this rod, but I think I'm going to switch the hook size on it. We are getting into the afternoon time, so I'm not sure if it's worth boring you with the slowdown, but then the afternoon, evening, like I said, will most certainly pick up again and can get pretty exciting. Pretty nice pull there. It's like when the wild carp chill out a bit, the big heads peek out a little bit. I'd love to hit a big one here for you, but if you fish this spot, they will come, and they'll come with pretty good regularity. You'll have some hours that you may not catch a big one, but some really nice ones have been coming out here. And I've yet to hit that big head trophy. I've gotten several wild carp trophies, but the big head has eluded me thus far. Good to see the Braves doing so well right now. I really enjoy watching baseball, big Braves fan. We've got some unanswered questions with pitching, but the bats have really been waking up lately, and it's been exciting to watch. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and wrap it up. I imagine that many of you, if you are high enough level to be at tuba, have already tried this spot, but I think it's always fascinating to, when there's a really good spot like this, to come back and check it out again sort of a few days later as it develops, see what changes may come, like the sterlet starting to show up, and kind of judge when it starts to die out a little bit. And I would say, although it has changed a little, it still feels like a pretty worthwhile spot to me. So hopefully it has been for you as well. As always, thanks for watching, and I may try to put a couple more vids together tonight. I've been streaming so much lately that I haven't had a chance to do this as much, but thanks for being patient, and I will look forward to seeing you next time. Peace out.